Today Dong Fu invites you to listen to the Dhammapada, one of the Dharma of Buddha Shakyamuni. The 58th and 59th verses from the Buddhist scriptures on the YouTube channel TN Thai in the USA. As upon a heap of rubbish in the roadside ditch blooms a lotus, fragrant and pleasing, even so. On the rubbish heap of blind worldlings the disciple of the Supremely Enlightened One shines resplendent in wisdom. This teaching is a light in the midst of darkness, showing that even in a world full of confusion and attachment, the awakened heart can flourish. Just as the lotus grows unsullied from the mud, the disciple's mind can rise above delusion, radiant in clarity, purity, and compassion. The lotus is a symbol of the mind's potential. From the darkness of ignorance and suffering, the mind can unfold into insight and virtue. This flowering does not depend on the external environment, but on the careful cultivation of morality, mindfulness, and wisdom, even in the midst of worldly chaos. The practitioner who abides in the Dharma becomes a beacon of peace and clarity. To shine resplendent in wisdom is not to boast or seek recognition. It is to embody understanding, calm, and insight. The disciple sees the impermanent and interdependent nature of all things. They recognize suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path that leads to freedom. Their actions arise naturally from this understanding, causing no harm and bringing benefit to all beings. The rubbish heap of blind worldlings represents the world steeped in craving, hatred, and ignorance. These conditions surround us, but they do not touch the mind that is cultivated with virtue and wisdom. The disciple grows from this environment, unaffected by its impurities, like a lotus blooming in the mud, yet untouched by it. Mindfulness is the first step toward this transformation. Every thought, word, and action is observed with clarity. Anger, attachment, and delusion are seen as passing phenomena and are gently released. Through continuous awareness, the mind is purified, allowing the flower of wisdom to bloom naturally. Virtue strengthens this clarity. By refraining from harm, practicing generosity, and speaking truthfully, the disciple nurtures the conditions for the mind to flourish. Insight into the impermanence of all things and the cessation of suffering allows the practitioner to act in harmony with reality. Their life becomes a living example of the Dharma, touching hearts without force or words, silently guiding others toward awakening. The disciple's radiance influences the world subtly. Those around them may feel calm, safe, and inspired without knowing why. The presence of wisdom and virtue encourages others to awaken, just as the scent of the lotus spreads without effort. Even amidst worldly distractions, the lotus can bloom within us. By cultivating mindfulness, practicing virtue, and seeking wisdom, we rise above defilement, shining brightly in the midst of confusion. This is the essence of the teaching. Awakening is possible even in the midst of difficulty. The lotus blooms because it rises through the mud toward the light. In the same way, The disciple must rise above the distractions, attachments, and delusions of the world. Cultivating the lotus within requires consistent practice, gentle patience, and compassionate attention to every moment. The first practice is mindfulness. To be mindful is to see clearly what arises in the mind without being carried away by it. When anger arises, we notice it and allow it to pass. When craving arises, we acknowledge it and release it. When joy arises, we embrace it with gratitude without clinging. In this steady observation, the mind becomes like calm water, reflecting the world as it is, untainted by delusion. Virtue is the nourishment for the inner lotus. Practicing kindness, generosity, and ethical conduct strengthens the mind, preparing it for insight. The disciple acts with care, speaking truthfully, and performing deeds that benefit others. Just as a flower's scent spreads silently, the effect of compassionate action is subtle yet profound. A gentle word, a helping hand, a patient attitude, these ripple outward, touching hearts and inspiring others toward awakening. Even small acts, when done sincerely, have far-reaching consequences. Wisdom arises naturally when mindfulness and virtue are present. By contemplating the impermanent and interdependent nature of all phenomena, the disciple sees clearly the causes of suffering and the way to liberation. This understanding is not merely intellectual. It transforms the heart and guides actions so that each moment is aligned with the path of awakening. The worldly environment may be full of noise, distraction, and suffering. The practitioner remains free from attachment, hatred, and delusion, shining with clarity and peace. Daily life becomes the practice ground. In conversation, the disciple speaks truthfully and kindly. In work, they act diligently and without harm. In leisure, they cultivate gratitude and reflection. Every activity, no matter how ordinary, is transformed into an opportunity for the mind to bloom. The more consistent the practice, the stronger the inner radiance becomes, extending outward to benefit others. Challenges and adversity are part of the path. Just as a lotus must push through water and mud to bloom, the disciple faces difficulties with patience and wisdom. Obstacles are not seen as punishment, but as opportunities to strengthen the mind and deepen understanding. By responding with mindfulness, virtue, and compassion, the practitioner turns every hardship into a stepping stone for awakening. The fragrance of wisdom and virtue also protects the mind. Just as a lotus in full bloom repels decay, the practice of mindfulness and ethical conduct shields the heart from the corrosive effects of greed, hatred, and delusion. The disciple moves through the world with calmness, discernment, and integrity, inspiring trust and respect naturally. The disciple who blooms like a lotus amidst the rubbish heap of blind worldlings carries within them a power far greater than any external force. Each act of virtue, each moment of mindfulness, each cultivation of wisdom generates karma that shapes both the present and future. The radiance of the awakened mind does not remain confined to the individual. It flows outward, touching the hearts and minds of all beings around them. Karma is the subtle law of cause and effect. Every wholesome thought, word, or action plants a seed that will eventually ripen into beneficial results. A compassionate gesture may inspire someone else to act kindly, who in turn influences another. In this way, the radiance of virtue multiplies endlessly, like sunlight reflecting off countless surfaces, or the fragrance of a lotus drifting far beyond its immediate surroundings. The spiritual impact of the disciple extends even further. By embodying virtue and wisdom, the practitioner becomes a living example of the Dharma. Others, even those who have not yet begun formal practice, sense the peace, clarity, and integrity that emanate from such a mind. And suffering, yet, like a lotus in the mud, the disciple remains untainted. Their mind is a sanctuary of calm and clarity, a refuge for those who seek understanding. This spiritual presence is a silent teaching, a beacon that draws others toward the path of liberation without coercion or argument. It demonstrates that even amidst turmoil, the awakened heart shines brightly, guiding all beings with gentle strength. The karmic effects are not limited to the present life. A life lived with mindfulness, virtue, and wisdom generates conditions for favorable rebirths, further opportunities for practice, and the continued cultivation of the Dharma. Each good deed, each act of insight, accumulates merit that benefits the practitioner and the countless beings connected through the web of interdependence. The lotus that blooms today nourishes future blossoms, creating a lineage of virtue and awakening. The disciple's radiance also strengthens the community. Ethical conduct, compassion, and wisdom foster trust, harmony, and cooperation among others. A community influenced by such a presence becomes fertile ground for further practice, a place where Dharma can thrive. The subtle ripples of virtue and wisdom extend beyond the individual, transforming the social and spiritual environment and inspiring collective awakening. Even in challenging circumstances, the practitioner maintains clarity and composure. Adversity becomes a teacher, revealing the impermanent and interdependent nature of all conditions. By responding with mindfulness and compassion, the disciple turns every difficulty into an opportunity to deepen insight and extend benefit. This resilience amplifies their spiritual influence, demonstrating that true wisdom is steady, flexible, and compassionate. The fragrance of the lotus, both literal and metaphorical, is the manifestation of the disciple's virtuous presence. It touches beings in ways that words cannot, subtly guiding them toward the path of awakening. This fragrance is the integration of morality, concentration, and wisdom, the qualities that allow the disciple to shine in the midst of the world's confusion and suffering. The disciple who shines like a lotus amidst the rubbish heap does not practice in isolation. Their virtue, wisdom, and mindfulness ripple outward, touching the hearts and minds of all who encounter them. Just as the fragrance of a lotus drifts on the wind, their presence brings clarity, calm, and inspiration to those around them. Every action rooted in awareness and compassion becomes a teaching, a gentle invitation for others to awaken. In relationships, the disciple embodies patience, understanding, and empathy. By listening with full attention, responding with kindness, and acting with integrity, they influence others not through force, but through example. A single act of compassion can awaken the dormant seeds of goodness in another, setting in motion a chain of virtuous actions that extends far beyond immediate perception. The disciple's radiance encourages others to reflect on their own intentions and cultivate virtue in their daily lives. Within society, the impact is multiplied. Communities shaped by the presence of mindful and virtuous individuals experience greater harmony, trust, and cooperation. Ethical behavior and wise action serve as a stabilizing force, guiding collective decisions toward fairness and understanding. Just as a lotus purifies the water in which it grows, the virtuous influence of a disciple elevates the environment around them, creating conditions where others are naturally drawn to the Dharma. The ripple extends even further, touching the larger world. Acts of kindness, wisdom, and moral courage inspire not only those immediately present, but also future generations. The disciple becomes part of a lineage of awakening, a living embodiment of the timeless teachings of the Buddha. Their life demonstrates that true virtue is resilient, luminous, and transformative, capable of overcoming ignorance and suffering wherever it is encountered. Universal awakening, or the path of the Bodhisattva, is the culmination of this influence. By embodying the Dharma fully, the disciple contributes to the liberation of all beings. Each virtuous thought, word, and deed adds to the collective merit and wisdom of the world, creating conditions conducive to enlightenment. The ripple of awakening spreads like sunlight dispersing clouds, slowly illuminating hearts and minds, revealing the path of freedom. Even subtle actions matter. A gentle smile, a patient response, a word of encouragement, a moment of forgiveness. Each carries the potential to transform another's mind. The disciple's life becomes a continuous, living teaching, demonstrating that the path of virtue and wisdom is not reserved for grand gestures alone. Everyday actions, when performed mindfully and compassionately, have profound karmic and spiritual consequences. Challenges in the world are inevitable. Ignorance, greed, anger, and suffering persist around the disciple. Yet, like the lotus, the awakened mind is untainted by its surroundings. The disciple responds with equanimity, skillful means, and compassionate action, showing others that liberation is possible even amidst turmoil. By embodying calm and clarity, they illuminate the path for countless beings, encouraging each to awaken their own inner lotus. The disciple's influence is also spiritual nourishment for other practitioners. Witnessing a mind steady in virtue and radiant in wisdom inspires confidence and dedication. It reassures the aspirant that awakening is attainable, that the path is real, and that effort rooted in mindfulness and compassion bears fruit. The ripple of awakening thus extends through teachers, students, friends, family, and communities, creating a vast network of interconnected virtue and insight. Ultimately, the lotus-like radiance of the disciple demonstrates the inseparability of personal awakening and the welfare of all beings. By cultivating virtue, mindfulness, and wisdom, they purify their own mind while simultaneously benefiting others. The path of the awakened disciple is both solitary and universal, a personal journey intertwined with the liberation of countless beings, reflecting the deepest truth of interdependence and compassion. The path of the disciple who shines like a lotus amidst the rubbish heap is a reminder that awakening is possible in every moment, under any circumstance. The lessons of the 58th and 59th verses of the Dhammapada show that virtue, mindfulness, and wisdom are the foundation of a radiant and transformative life. These qualities, cultivated within, ripple outward to influence others, society, and the path of universal awakening. Integration begins in daily life. The disciple carries mindfulness into every action, from the simplest gestures to the most significant decisions. Walking, speaking, working, and resting all become opportunities to embody virtue and wisdom. When the mind is aware and the heart is compassionate, ordinary activities transform into sacred practice. The lotus blooms not only in meditation, but in daily interactions, revealing the beauty and power of awakened living. Compassion is central to this integration. Each act of kindness, patience, and generosity nurtures the seeds of awakening in oneself and in others. When one practices with genuine concern for the welfare of all beings, every action becomes a source of merit and spiritual influence. The fragrance of the lotus, the subtle but profound effect of virtue and wisdom, permeates the environment, touching hearts in ways that words alone cannot. The disciple's influence is enduring. Virtuous and wise actions create conditions that extend far beyond immediate perception. The ripple effects of a single compassionate gesture may inspire countless others to act mindfully. Ethical conduct, generosity, and wisdom cultivate trust, harmony, and cooperation in families, communities, and society at large. The presence of the awakened mind purifies the environment, offering clarity, calm, and inspiration wherever it is found. Adversity is an essential teacher. Challenges and suffering do not impede the lotus from blooming. They provide the opportunity to strengthen mindfulness, compassion, and equanimity. By responding to difficulty with patience and understanding, the disciple demonstrates the power of Dharma in action, showing others that liberation is attainable amidst life's trials. This steadfastness amplifies the ripple of awakening, revealing that true wisdom and virtue are resilient and transformative. The path of universal awakening, the Bodhisattva ideal, is deeply intertwined with the practice of mindfulness, virtue, and wisdom. The disciple's life serves as a living example of the inseparability of personal liberation and the benefit of all beings. By cultivating these qualities consistently, one contributes not only to their own awakening, but to the awakening of countless others. This reflects the profound interdependence of all life and the expansive reach of compassionate action. The teachings of the 58th and 59th verses remind us that the disciple shines resplendent even amidst the ignorance and suffering of the world. Just as the lotus emerges pristine and fragrant from the mud, the awakened mind remains untainted by the defilements surrounding it. This radiance is not for recognition or personal gain. It is a natural expression of insight and virtue, a gentle but powerful force that guides, nurtures, and inspires all beings toward liberation. As we embody these teachings, we practice in each moment, mindful of our words, thoughts, and deeds. We cultivate virtue, nourish wisdom, and extend compassion to all beings. In doing so, we become like the lotus, spreading fragrance silently yet powerfully, shaping the world in subtle and profound ways. Every moment of practice contributes to a life of clarity, calm, and awakening, and to the upliftment of countless beings around us. In conclusion, the 58th and 59th verses of the Dhammapada teach us the extraordinary potential of the human heart. Even in the midst of defilement and confusion, the mind can bloom with virtue, mindfulness, and wisdom. Through diligent practice, the disciple radiates light, fragrance, and inspiration. Every act of compassion, every moment of insight, every display of equanimity contributes to the liberation of self and others, rippling outward to touch the world. Thank you for watching my video. Namalamat ba. I wish to bring this merit towards all disciples and sentient beings, all of whom will attain Buddhahood. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate your time.